Good day, everyone. In this lecture, we will study electromagnetic induction, one of the most important ideas in physics. This concept explains how electricity can be produced from magnetism, which is the basic principle behind generators, transformers, and many modern technologies. And by the end of this lecture, you should be able to first explain Faraday's law of induction. Second is to determine the direction of induced electromotive force using Lenz's law. Third is to solve the basic problems involving magnetic flux and induced electromotive force. And lastly is to understand how electromagnetic induction fits into the Maxwell's equations. Every day, devices rely on electromagnetic induction. For instance, gas station card readers requires you to move the card. If the card is not moving, no signal is detected. So this shows a key idea that a magnetic field must change to produce an electric current. So energy conversion, especially from the mechanical motion to electrical energy, depends on this principle. So here we see a coil connected to a galvanometer and a nearby magnet. So when the magnet is not moving, the meter shows zero current. And even though a magnetic field is present, nothing happens. So this tells us that a magnetic field alone does not induce current. And when the magnet is moved towards or away from the coil, the galvanometer deflects. This current exists only while the magnet is moving. Once the motion stops, the current disappears. We call this current an induced current, and the cause is an induced electromotive force. And now, the magnet is replaced with another coil connected to a battery. So when the second coil moves relative to the first, a current appears in the first coil, and again only during motion. This shows that relative motion and changing magnetic conditions are essential. So here, both coils remain stationary. Take note that when the current in the second coil changes, a current is induced in the first coil. And when the current is constant, no induction occurs. This is because changing current means changing magnetic flux, which causes induction. Take note that no current is induced if the magnetic field is constant, the coil's area, position, and orientation does not change. This is because induction occurs only when at least one of these factors changes. Magnetic flux measures how much magnetic field passes through a surface. So it is defined as what is shown in the presentation. So flux depends on the field strength, the surface area, and the orientation of the surface. So in this slide, we are observing an illustration of a magnetic flux through a flat area. So the maximum magnetic flux through a surface occurs when the surface is faced onto the magnetic field. So when the surface is perpendicular to the magnetic field, flux is maximum. Therefore, the magnetic flux is equals to the magnetic field times the area. And when the surface is at some angle relative to the magnetic field, the magnetic flux is between 0 and magnetic field times the area. At an angle, flux decreases. Therefore, magnetic flux is equals to the magnetic field times the area times the cosine theta. Take note that only the component of the field perpendicular to the surface contributes. And when the surface is parallel to the field, flux is 0. This helps us understand how rotation can change flux. When the magnetic flux through a single closed loop changes with time, there is an induced electromotive force that can drive a current around the loop. So this means that an induced electromotive force depends on how fast flux changes. The negative sign indicates direction, explained by Lenz's law. And recall that the unit of magnetic flux is the Weber, wherein 1 Tesla meter squared is equals to 1 Weber. So 1 volt is equals to 1 Weber per seconds. To determine the direction, we must first identify whether the magnetic flux is increasing or decreasing. As we can see, the induced current produces its own magnetic field, and this induced field always opposes the change in flux. We can use the right-hand rule to connect the direction of the magnetic field and the direction of induced current. So this step-by-step reasoning prevents common mistakes and direction problems. As you can observe from the picture below, that a commercial alternator uses many loops of wire wound around a barrel-like structure called an armature. The resulting induced electromotive force is far larger than would be possible with a single loop of wire. If a coil has an n identical turns and if the flux varies at the same rate through each turn, the total electromotive force is the equation denoted below the presentation. So, more turns means larger induced electromotive force, which is why generators use many loops. Lenz's law is a convenient method for determining the direction of an induced current or electromotive force. The direction of any magnetic induction effect is such as to oppose the cause of the effect. For example, in the figure shown, there is a uniform magnetic field through the coil. The magnitude of the field is increasing, so there is an induced electromotive force driving the current as shown. Take note that the Lenz's law states that the induced current opposes the cause that produces it, and this law ensures energy conservation. If magnetic flux increases, therefore, induced current creates a field opposing that increase. However, if flux decreases, therefore induced current tries to maintain the original field. This logic guides all direction problems. When a conducting rod moves perpendicular to a uniform magnetic field, there is a motion of electromotive force induced. This occurs because magnetic forces separate charges. A changing magnetic field produces a circulating electric field, even without a wire. This shows that electric fields are not always caused by charges. When a piece of metal moves through a magnetic field or is located in a changing magnetic field, eddy currents of electric currents are induced. The metal detectors used at airport security checkpoints operate by detecting eddy currents induced in metallic objects. So eddy currents are loops of current inside conductors. They oppose motion and convert energy into heat. Application, of course, includes the braking systems and the metal detectors. Ampere's law is incomplete, as can be shown by considering the process of charging a capacitor. When a capacitor is charging, the electric field is increasing between the plates. Maxwell's added displacement current to fix Ampere's law. This allows magnetic field to exist even where no physical current flows, and such as between capacitor plates. All the relationships between the electric field and the magnetic field and their sources are summarized by 4 equations called the Maxwell's equations. The first Maxwell equation is Gauss's law for electric fields. The second Maxwell equation is Gauss's law for magnetic fields. The third Maxwell equation is the chapter's formulation of Faraday's law. And the fourth Maxwell equation is Ampere's law, including displacement current. Remember that in empty space, Changing electric fields create magnetic fields, and changing magnetic fields create electric fields. This leads to electromagnetic waves. Take note that superconductors have zero electrical resistance and a critical temperature that decreases with strong magnetic fields. Now, we will discuss an important property of superconductors known as the Meissner effect. Let us begin with the situation shown in the slide. Imagine that we place a material inside a uniform magnetic field. At first, the material behaves normally. Magnetic field lines pass through it just as they would through most metals. Now, we slowly lower the temperature of the material. When the temperature reaches a specific value called critical temperature, the material undergoes a phase change and becomes a superconductor. At this point, something very remarkable happens. Instead of allowing the magnetic field to remain inside, the superconductor expels all magnetic flux from its interior. This means that the magnetic field inside the superconducting material becomes zero. On the diagram, this is shown by the label magnetic field is equals to zero inside the circular object. This complete expulsion of magnetic field is called the Meissner effect. It is important to emphasize that this effect is not simply due to zero electrical resistance. Even a perfect conductor would drop magnetic fields that were present before cooling. A superconductor, however, actively pushes the magnetic field out as it enters the superconducting state. This shows that the superconductivity is a distinct physical state of matter, not just an extreme form of conductivity. Physically, this happens because surface currents form on the superconductor. These currents create their own magnetic field that exactly cancels the applied magnetic field inside the material. As a result, magnetic field lines bend around the superconductor as shown in the figure. Take note that a superconductor cooled below its critical temperature expels magnetic flux. Another is that the magnetic field inside the superconductor becomes zero. And lastly, this phenomenon is called the Meissner effect, and it is the defining property of superconductors. Now, this slide explains how the Meissner effect leads to superconductor levitation. The first key idea here is that the Meissner effect makes a superconductor a perfect diamagnet. A diamagnetic material is one that creates a magnetic field opposite to an applied magnetic field. To understand this better, let us briefly compare different types of magnetic behavior. A paramagnetic material is attracted to a magnet. This happens because the magnetic dipoles inside the material tend to align with the external magnetic field, especially when the field is non-uniform. A diamagnetic material, on the other hand, responds in the opposite way. Its induced magnetization points opposite to the applied magnetic field, causing it to be repelled by a magnet. In most ordinary materials, this effect is very weak. However, in a superconductor, diamagnetism is perfect because the magnetic field is completely expelled, meaning the superconductor strongly repels any nearby magnetic field. So this strong repulsion leads to the phenomenon shown in the photograph on the slide. So here, a permanent magnet is levitating above a superconducting material. The levitation occurs because the magnetic field of the magnet induces currents in the superconductor. These currents generate a magnetic field that pushes back against the magnet. The upward magnetic force balances the downward force of gravity. When these forces are equal, the magnet remains suspended mid-air. This is what we call a superconductor levitation. In practical demonstrations, this effect is often observed using high-temperature superconductors cooled with liquid nitrogen. These materials become superconducting at temperatures that are easier to achieve experimentally. Take note that the Meissner effect makes superconductors perfect diamagnets, and this perfect diamagnetism causes strong magnetic repulsion. And this repulsion can balance gravity and produce magnetic levitation. And that ends our discussion about the topic electromagnetic induction. As a recap, electromagnetic induction explains how changing magnetic fields produces electric currents. Energy conversion becomes possible, and electricity and magnetism are unified. So this chapter prepares us for understanding practical applications like in air-conditioned circuits, generators, and electromagnetic waves.